Hello again. I'm sure that we all remember when David Starkey was constantly on our television screens and his books were all over the place as well. He was the people's historian, plain-speaking man who could explain all sorts of things really simply so that we all understood what he was driving at. Then, in 2020, he said in a podcast, slavery was not genocide, otherwise there wouldn't be so many damned blacks in Africa or in Britain, would there? An awful lot of them survived. It was a peculiarly injudicious remark made at the worst possible time because, of course, in June when he said this, the Black Lives Matter hysteria was at its height. The police investigated him for stirring up racial hatred and his publisher dropped him. Television producers also put him on a boycott list. He became overnight an unperson. I thought it an ill-judged remark because, of course, nobody would deny that Jews were subject to genocide, and yet there are still many Jews in the world. There it is. David Starkey was an awful reminder of what could happen to a very popular historian if he questioned the accepted narrative. Another popular historian was Neil Oliver, and we used to see him a lot on the television as well. Scottish guy, very engaging, very good at explaining things just the way that David Starkey was. He too is now in the firing line for his supposedly unacceptable views. Indeed, the Board of Deputies of British Jews, together with the Guardian newspaper, is hinting that he is an anti-Semite, or at the very least associates with people who have anti-Semitic views. The fact is that Neil Oliver, who has a YouTube channel as popular as this one, has been expressing some rather odd views lately. Viewers might think it a bit rich to hear this, coming as it does from a man who is famous for his odd views on YouTube, but I'm making no judgment on the matter. In Neil Oliver's case, his views have crossed the line of whose existence we are, I think, most of us aware. In short, he has been dabbling in theories which are lifted straight out of the protocols of the Elders of Zion, and whether you agree with him or not, it can hardly come as a surprise that such opinions are sooner or later likely to land you in the soup. The fact that he is also a vaccine skeptic doesn't help, of course. It was on GB News, which is so hated by liberal types, that Neil Oliver spoke to a man whom he introduced as a constitutional expert, but who turned out to be a Rothschild conspiracy guy. This is what triggered the reaction which we are now seeing, but people have been muttering about Neil Oliver before that, complaining about his YouTube videos. He's a bit of a one for the idea that the one world government is in the offing and that the World Economic Forum is a sinister body, as well as, I say, saying that the COVID vaccine is dangerous and injurious to health. For those of you who have not read the Protocols of the Elders of Zion, a weird book which emerged from Russia something over a century ago, some of this stuff will be familiar. The ideas advanced both by the protocols and also those who advocate today about things like the one world government, the Rothschilds and all the rest of it, is that rich and powerful Jews are controlling the world through various proxies, political, control of the media and so on, and the aim is that they will take over and run the planet entirely. I don't think any of us are going to be surprised when stuff like that is broadcast on a news channel in this country, that nobody will notice or draw attention to it, which has duly happened. I don't agree with Neil Oliver about any of this, as a matter of fact, but that doesn't mean that I want his views to be suppressed. I'm guessing that after Mark Steyn was nudged into leaving GB News lately, if Neil Oliver might not be seen as a similar sort of liability and might be next. MPs are also expressing their concern about Neil Oliver, which won't help his cause much either. Although I'm not a fan of anti-Semitism, I firmly believe that if somebody wishes to say that the Rothschilds control the world, or that Jews manipulate the media and so on, then they should be able to do so. I feel the same way about vaccine skeptics, of course. The problem with Neil Oliver is that he is both a vaccine skeptic and also a believer in certain ideas which could have been taken straight from the protocols of the Elders of Zion. This is rather an unfortunate combination of views to hold in the current climate, and I wouldn't be at all surprised to see him crash in flames before too long. I would myself be uneasy for the future of my own channel here on YouTube if I'd been criticised by the Board of Deputies. As usual, I'll give a link in this video to what is being said about Neil Oliver